Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 198 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed a blogger, interviewer, writer, does a lot of amazing work for underground artists. His name is Baxter-Carr. Evan is from Scotland, and he runs the music blog called Doombox Music, which I was featured on back in 2022. That's kind of how we got connected. I thought he would be an awesome person to have on this show. He has some experience in radio. He talked about doing live music interviews. We had a cool discussion about how he picks and chooses from the artists that he writes about, how people approach him, reaching out to him through DMs and emails, his love for music, like where that came from. Obviously, MF Doom being a huge inspiration behind the Doombox blog, and David Bowie and a lot of other musicians. He has a very wide variety of music that he's a fan of. Just a very cool conversation today, and I'm excited to stay connected with Evan and what he's going to be doing with Doombox moving forward, and hopefully we get to work together again very soon. So I hope you guys enjoy this one, and without further ado, let's get into it. So welcome everyone to episode 198 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. And today's guest is someone I've been connected with now for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years at this point. He's an author, he's a blogger, he's a huge music lover. I know that just from following what he does with Doombox Music. Got a lot more going on too this year, and I'm excited to have him on the show today. Everybody, please welcome Evan Baxter-Carr to the show. How you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's really an honour because the amount of work you do for this, I know that some people say that I do a lot of work, but you, by comparison, there's so much stuff that you do and weekly interviews and that. Thank you for really.
All man, and it's no problem at all. And like I said, I'm glad to have you on here. And this is kind of our first real discussion, other than just DMs or all that stuff, because you featured me on Doombox back in 2022. And I forget how I probably found you through somebody that I knew, some artist that I knew, and I just saw your platform and I was just impressed by what you do. So I'm excited to know more. Absolutely, man. And I'm excited to know more about you today. And for the listeners, just give a brief introduction on kind of what you do, how you got involved in music, all that good stuff. Just some basic info for those that might not know.
Well, I run Doombox Music, which is, some people would call it a blog, I just call it a website. I do interviews, I do music reviews. I'll sometimes do features, guides into genres. I just do anything musical, really. More recently, I've been really deep into the hip-hop underground to do a lot of interviews with rappers. Mm-hmm. And it really just came about because back in, I think it was 2022, I started it. Or also, I'm trying to be an author, I write books, but I had writer's block. So I had writer's block and I didn't know what to write, but I knew I wanted to write something, and I love music, so I just thought, why not write about music in the meantime? And it just kind of blossomed from there. Yeah,
and it's awesome, man, because I like I said, just the visuals, your logo, everything about it is attention grabbing, and what you write about and the artists that you highlight, I think is super cool too, because I'm always, being a big hip hop fan myself, I'm always looking for new artists, people that I've never heard of, and you've put me on to people that I didn't even know about. Which is,
really? That's great.
Absolutely, man. It's super awesome, and I kind of want to start, I guess, you're obviously you have a love for music, and you have a love for a lot of music, because I can tell, you always talk about David Bowie. You're a big Bowie fan. You're a big Doom fan, obviously, from the name and the logo of the website. So, talk to me about how your love for music initially began. Where do your influences come from?
Well, growing up, I didn't really listen to much hip-hop at all, even though that's what I listen to mostly now. Mm. I suppose back when I was a child, I listened to a lot of Gorillaz, and Gorillaz collaborate a lot with rappers, so I knew people like MF Doom and Del the Funky Homo Sapien just through features. And so that was more just kind of what my mum and dad listened to. But then my mum was always the biggest David Bowie fan. But I never listened to it until a few years ago. It was during the pandemic, actually. And I just thought, well, if she's such a big fan, why don't I get into it? So that kind of led me into David Bowie, and I'm just as big a fan as her. So hip hop, it really came about more because, like, planting the seed, I think, was listening to Gorillaz as a child. But then a few years ago, maybe like 2018, 2017, I just discovered this whole world of music, got into a Tribe Called Quest, MF Doom, just discovered this whole world. And it slowly developed. I've got into like the classics and stuff like that, and now I'm discovering this underground scene that like hardly anyone knows about. It's just so exciting. There's so much going on. So music, really, I'm not a musical person. I cannot play any instruments. I can't sing, can't do anything like that. But just I can write, and I love listening to music. So I just love combining those two passions.
Yeah. Well, I love it, man. And I always say, like, that's kind of a reason I'm trying to have more people in the journalism world on this show, is because I know a lot of people, even if they're not musicians, they're still fans of music. And it's another way to get involved in the whole world. You know what I mean? And so I think it's super important to highlight people like you that are doing that, and you still care about artists, and you want to, put people on to other music, which is super awesome. And I think having that like diverse palette helps you a lot because you're open to listening to more types of music too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which I think, if you're only listening to one genre, it's like you can still do that. But I think listening to like a lot of different things makes you more of someone that can help more people. You know what I mean? I think what you're doing is definitely that. So Doombox music itself, like, how did you come across or come about naming it that? Because obviously Doom is the main influence in the logo. So like, was it just you were influenced by his music so much you wanted to kind of name it that, or what kind of led to that decision?
Well, back in 2021, I made my Twitter account, which at the time was called Doom Meets Bowie, and I just did some music discussion stuff for a bit of fun. But then when I realised I could make a website out of it and do some writing, I realised Doom Meets Bowie. I thought that could be a bit tricky. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be like the next like Pitchfork or something like that. But if it got a bit of traction, I didn't want Doom and Bowie to be in the name just for that reason. So I thought I need to come up with something. So to keep it musical, I just thought, okay, a boombox, MF Doom, just put them together. And I thought it sounded all right. And it's still is a Doom. So people who already know me could still see that it was me. So that's how I came up with it, really.
Yeah. I will say Doom and Bowie, both incredible, but very different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could definitely see like you kind of had to almost decide on one. You know what I mean? At least for the name's sake. But yeah,
I feel like in a way as well, that's kind of affected the brand of it as well, because I do have more of that hip hop slant. I think if I named it something to do with David Bowie, I'd be in a whole different world of music right now.
Yeah, and I feel like MF Doom especially, he always symbolized that underground style of hip hop and just like what every artist kind of wants to be, and people love the fact that he like never showed his face, kind of had the moniker, did the whole comic book thing. Even like his death, no one knew about it for like 2 months, right? And then people found out. So like just an amazing artist, and someone that I definitely always associate with like the more slept on MCs and things like that. So I definitely can see how that would be a huge influence on the audience and the people that are reaching out to you. And that kind of leads me into my next question, which is how do you kind of pick and choose between the artists that you're gonna write about or you're gonna communicate with, as opposed to just everybody that's flooding your DMs or sending you emails? Because I imagine you get a ton of unsolicited people just sending you all kinds of stuff all the time. So like, how do you like pick and choose between everything? Do you just look at like who is respectful, who is reaching out the right way, or are you just kind of listening to a little bit of everything and just picking the best stuff?
See, when someone just sends me a link, and if I've never spoken to them and I just get a DM and they just send me a link, I'll go, okay, maybe not. But then if I see that maybe they're like followed by a lot of people I already know, and I'll go, okay, there's a connection there, so that kind of builds a bit of credibility. So I'm like, okay, I'll give them a chance maybe. Yeah. But if they're like really respectful, if they reach out and they're like, oh, they don't even have to know me. If they're just like, oh, would you mind listening to this? I'll be like, yeah, of course. Because like, whenever somebody like asks for a review or asks for an interview, I just feel really guilty saying no. Like I've got the time. I can do it. So a lot of the time I just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't always love what I hear, but I always try and find a way to find some positivity in it, because even if I don't adore it, somebody else might, and I have a platform that a lot of people don't, so I could share a spotlight on that. So really, most people, unless they're just sending me a link or they're just being a bit rude, I'll definitely, just no matter what, I'll write about it and find some way to show the strengths of it.
Yeah. I always feel like a proper introduction kind of goes a long way. Or, like, it doesn't even have to be too long. Like, why can't people just say, hey, I'm so-and-so from this region of the world. This is what I do. This is the type of music I make. Check it out if you feel like it. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Like, it's pretty simple to do. It doesn't take that much time. But there's so many people that just spam people just left and right.
Yeah.
Or the fire emojis, a billion fire emojis, and the link. It's like, like, don't do that.
Yeah,
at least give like some type of information on like who we're talking to. Like, be a human being. You know what I mean? And I think that's definitely something I look at as well when I have people reach out to me. And I always keep that in mind when I'm reaching out to others too. It's like, how would I want to have someone address me? Let me do the same for this other person. And I feel like I did that with you. I kind of just introduced myself and was like, hey, I saw you because you wrote about so-and-so. And, you know, if you want to feature me, here's all the stuff. And that was kind of just what I did. So, yeah, I totally agree, because I vet people kind of the same way. But, yeah, I always find that interesting, because I know, like, someone like you would get so many different people hitting you up constantly. And I feel like the more traction that the whole platform gains, it's only going to keep growing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But like, another problem I get sometimes is it's not them. It's sometimes I'll get so many people recommending me music that there'll be someone I'm like, oh, they're really nice. They're recommending someone that's quite good, but I just forget, or it gets buried. And then they message me again like 2 months later. I'm like, oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And there was someone recently who. No, not recently. They sent me a song back last July, and I was like, okay, I'll write a note. I'll listen to that. And I totally forgot to listen to it. And then they emailed me again just last month about a new song, and they didn't even mention it. They were really nice again. So, like, but if you're really nice like that, of course I'm going to do it, especially if I accidentally ignore you the first time.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. I feel like people, because I've seen people that can get like super rude about that type of thing too. Like if you accidentally, because people make mistakes, you know what I mean? And people have their own lives they got to deal with. You might let things slip through the cracks like that. It's going to happen all the time to everybody. So it's like, is an artist going to be understanding of that and just be like, oh yeah, it was a genuine mistake. It's okay. Like, let me see how I can address it. But I can tell you for sure that I've seen people get like heated over that stuff, which is kind of like, you know, it's their own problem at the end of the day, but you know, you kind of just got to watch like who you're dealing with, I guess. But that's good that they were, you know, okay with it. So But
Yeah, luckily I've never had that sort of problem. I've not really had any hot-headed people get in contact with me.
yeah.
I've had people just kind of nudge me to listen to their music, even if it's like after a day, they're like nudging me again. But no, I've never had anything like that.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've not had any
I was gonna say
confrontations yet.
we gotta keep it that way. You gotta keep the good energy. You know what I mean? So, and I think I always believe like you give good energy out, you'll get good energy back.
Yeah,
So I feel
exactly.
like as long as you're doing that, you'll be good, man. So that's super awesome. And I know you're doing like reviews of albums too. Like people are sending you albums and you're doing reviews on like SoundCloud and things like that. So talk about that. How is that different from just doing the write ups on Doombox? Is that like a different experience for people and for yourself?
Yeah, well, me and my girlfriend, we do our live reviews on a radio show that we run for our university, which is called Hip Hop Haven. And when we do that, it's a lot more natural.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, even if it's an album I've heard before, we'll like gather some underground albums. Some I've heard, some usually my girlfriend hasn't heard them, so it's her blind reaction. But even just hearing it and just speaking about it right after you hear a song, there's just like a rawness and an authenticity to it that you don't really get. Because like sometimes I'll be there sitting trying to write about an album, and I'll just be there like, oh, what kind of colourful language can I use to make this sound good?
Yeah.
But then sometimes when you just say what you feel as soon as it comes on, that's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem to resonate with a lot of people. Like I get some of the artists we do those live reviews about, and they love it. Just because I think there is that authenticity and that genuine factor that you don't really get. Even if you're a good writer, you don't really get that realness you would get from a blatant reaction.
Yeah. It's like you don't have time to think about it. You know what I mean? You got to give your
Yeah.
instant like reaction in the moment to what you're feeling from the music, which I think is super cool. And it definitely probably provides a different element to it. So is your girlfriend like as heavy on music as you are, or she's just there like doing it with you? Like how does she view all that stuff? Like compared to how you view it, I guess.
Well, over the years we've been together over 5 years now. I've kind of encouraged her into the music scene a bit more. Not to say that she wasn't into music.
Hmm.
She was into loads of stuff before, but it was mostly like pop music, musicals, really quite bright and upbeat stuff. I kind of introduced her more to hip hop and the underground scene, and now she says that she likes underground music more than she likes mainstream music, which is like such a change to how she was. And
Yeah.
she's really into music now. Like she's not like me. She can't listen to like 5 albums a day, but when there is something on, she can really appreciate it, and she just loves talking about music.
Yeah.
She doesn't like write about it like I do. Like she just does the show, and she has her own blog, but it's more of a personal thing. But yeah, she adores music. So having that show with her and us sharing our opinions about the music is it's really special. It's
Yeah.
really genuine again.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I was gonna say my girl, she likes mostly mainstream music, so I can't always have like full on conversations with her about like some of the stuff I listen to because she would never hear of any of these artists. So I'm just like I'm not gonna bother. But you can like your own. You like what you like. I
Yeah.
like what I like, and that's kind of just how we move. But I definitely thought that was pretty cool that you guys are able to do that and have that experience. So that's pretty cool. What other than doing all this stuff, or like when you're not doing the write ups, the reviews, running the website, what do you do to kind of free your mind? Hobbies, anything outside of this stuff that lets you kind of recharge and just kind of live life and come back to it?
Well, one thing I know is still writing. Like a lot of the time when I'm not writing, I'm writing something else, and then I'm writing something else. So when I'm not doing music, I'm focusing on my literature. I write novels. I just escaping into like a different world, writing about fiction. It's just so different. It's such a different landscape. I can be in the same laptop using the same keys, but it just feels like I'm in a different place.
Mm.
It doesn't feel like work at all. Like so really, I can go from doing a music review and then I'll be writing a chapter of my book, and that just takes me away. So that's one thing I really love doing. And then more recently I've got into film as well. Me and a few friends in uni again, we've actually started a film show as well now. So yeah, like the world of film, books, I just love every form of media. I just
Yeah.
eat it all up. Like that's really what gets me.
Yeah, man.
Of course I like going in the outdoors, like exploring, hiking and stuff like that, but living in the middle of Glasgow in the city, it's kind of difficult to do that every
No.
day. But I can put a film on, I can write a book. Like that's my form of escapism that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Do you ever think you're gonna be like an author, like publish any of this stuff you're writing, or it's just kind of for fun, like something else to do?
Yeah, actually, that's my main goal in life is to become a
Nice.
published author. Like since I was nursery or even before then, I've been writing stories, and yeah, I've just been building and building. I've got a full like crate under my bed of books I've written since I was like a toddler. I've just been building that pile up and up. So yeah, publishing a book, that's where I want to get. Like this hip hop stuff and journalism, I adore doing it, and that's not something I want to give up. But that just kind of came out of nowhere. Whereas writing books, that's always been my main goal for me.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it began then, the love for writing and everything. That's awesome, man. Well, keep me posted, man, if you ever got a book out there, because I always looking for new books myself to read, so definitely intrigued by that. So that's awesome, man. And we're down to the last few questions here. These are ones I ask on every episode. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I think I would try and convince myself that I should. It's not the greatest thing to be an adult, because I like being an adult, but as soon as you hit adulthood, you kind of realise, oh, I wish I was a child again at points. So I wish I could just embrace not having to worry about money and not having to worry about a job and about uni and all that stuff. I wish I could just walk around a bit more and just embrace not having to worry about a thing. Yeah. That's what I wish I could do.
Life is interesting, isn't it? Because we grow up and we're like, I can't wait to be grown, and then it's the complete opposite. Now we're like, go back, I want to go back. So yeah, I can definitely think. I think everybody could probably relate to that in some way, shape, or form. But if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in, doing writing, all this stuff you're trying to do, as well as just life in general?
But where I hope to be published by then. Like, I've already started querying for a novel, so hopefully 10 years time it's gotten somewhere. But yeah, but in 10 years I'd like to be published as an author. I'd like to keep doing the journalism stuff, whether it's on Doombox or go into something else. I don't want to abandon Doombox entirely, even if I kind of grow out of it or something else comes along. I'd like in some way for it to live on. But yeah, I want to keep that balance between being a music writer and a novelist at the same time. That's really what I want to do. And whether I'm like, I don't care if I'm the next Stephen King, I don't care if I'm next Anthony Fantano or whatever. Like, I want to be able to do it, and that's kind of it. And I think as long as I have that passion, I'll be happy wherever I am.
Yeah, just always keeping it involved no matter what in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's awesome. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Ooh, okay. I would say that I think that relaxing and doing nothing is one of the most important things you can do, and that's something I didn't realise before. Before, I thought that using up every single minute of your time for work in some shape or another is the best use of your time, but really it's not. I think that if you just take a day you would call like a wasted day where you do nothing, if you just go for one walk, if you just spend the time watching TV, like, embrace that. It's not a bad thing to just be able to relax, because that's actually why I took a month off between December and January, because I think doing nothing is extremely important, not just to give yourself a break, but I think for your mind. Like, I think that boredom is necessary sometimes. Yeah,
man.
That's what I would say.
Definitely got to give yourself permission to take those breaks, which, again, I think we all can kind of relate to in our own ways. So definitely appreciate you sharing that, man. And that's all I have for you today, Evan. Once again, man, I got to say, thank you for coming on the show. Super awesome. And just keep doing your thing, man. I'll be looking out for what you got coming up on Doombox and the reviews and everything else you're going to be doing. And good luck on the book. I'll be looking out for that too, man. And we'll have to do this again soon if you want. So
yeah, definitely. I'll have to get you on my platform as well again, because I think I've developed my journalistic skills quite a bit since last time we spoke. I'm no longer doing email interviews and text interviews. I think this, like, speaking to each other, it's a lot better.
This to me is the best way to do it. So anytime, man, just let me know. Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 198. We'll be back at this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.